So it's like, it's earned my trust. I don't know.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Volume 1, the anime and manga podcast where we review the first volume of a brand new manga each week. My name is Josh Grandma Boy Michaels, and today, as always, I am joined by
Megan, I Mask Perrine.
Cody Turbo Decker.
Today, we're going to be reviewing Volume 1, or what we think and are pretty sure is Volume 1
If
of
not,
Dandadan.
it's the end of the first arc.
Either way, it's a perfect place to end. It's about a volume's worth of chapters, and we did a chapter 1 review of this series when it came out, Dandadan, and we loved it. It's from an assistant to Fujimoto and Yuji Kaku from Hell's Paradise, and Chainsaw Man obviously is where Fujimoto's from. Duh. And I gotta say, having read more of this series, oh my God.
Oh my God is right.
Yeah.
Damn to damn. I'll say it again.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
all I have to say out of the gate before we get too into it is I think I've found my new favorite art style for sure.
yeah.
For sure. This is, look, Chainsaw Man has an aesthetic, has a vibe, and, even Hell's Paradise, it's drawn really well, but something about the inking in Dandadan, let's just talk about the art alone. The posing, the dynamic poses, and the contortion.
The visual
of
effects are very cool.
It's insane. It feels like I'm watching an anime. That's how visceral my reaction to reading it was.
Yeah.
It's very animated, and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
There are a couple scenes where I can hear the music. That slow piano.
Yeah.
The voices. And the...
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm the grandma.
You know what? I gotta say this. I'm so sorry to say this early in the episode because of how many people are gonna be like, well, clicking off of this video.
Don't say.
I'm gonna say it.
Easy solution.
Easy solution. Don't if you know that's gonna be the result.
Okay, well then let me just try to say it better.
Sure.
As far as like what this is doing in terms of like character design and just interesting visuals and world, I think it's a better version of like a Jujutsu Kaisen kind of.
Oh, I would agree with that. I was going to say it was a better Chainsaw Man.
Oh, no.
But the story is incredibly full.
Yes.
To the point where I'm like, what else is there to do?
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's so rewarding. And you're just like, my stomach, I don't need any more to eat. Oh, there's another chapter? Okay, I'll eat if I have to, but I'm full already.
Yeah, but what else can the chef even cook up at this point?
Oh, I don't know, but I'm excited for course 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah.
5, 6, 7.
I'm discovering there's a trend of things I like, and one of the main characters fits a very specific series of checkboxes that I have to have in a favorite protagonist.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's something wrong with my brain, but I'm a sucker for that, and we'll talk about when they get their powers or whatever. But I was like, oh, I have a category of my favorite things, and this hit all the boxes for it.
Yeah.
I love how it right off the bat you get the character who does something normally you won't get that in a female protagonist, and then you get a very relatable for my type of person in the guy character.
Yeah. And one thing that I think is just gonna be a theme throughout this episode, and especially the first couple chapters, we're gonna be talking about the first 8, to be exact, is a term that I wrote down when I read this, and it's purposeful absurdity. Do you agree with that? It's not absurd and chaotic and random for the sake of it. It serves a purpose and it tells a story, but it is wild.
And it invokes a feeling in you of just being it's fun. It's so much fun to see what shenanigans is going to happen next. And you don't even care because you're like, oh, this makes sense.
Yeah.
Everything is just falling into place for a reason. And like I said, it's just that it's so animated. It's coming off the page.
Yeah.
And it feels just so fluid and beautiful.
Yeah. I'll also say this before we start talking about Volume 1 is it's the closest thing to Chainsaw Man that I've come across in terms of filling that hole that Chainsaw Man left behind, that Puchita-shaped hole.
That Chainsaw Man, chainsaw hole.
Yeah.
Exactly right, Megan.
Yeah, thank you.
It does, when I read it, make me feel like this is enough, especially in the interim. This is all I could have wanted
Yeah.
it to be.
It's the same vibe.
100%.
And my expectations were like up to here for
Yeah.
chapter 1. So it just exceeded it all, which is insane.
Yeah.
It just got better and better and better.
Yeah, well, let's talk about a little bit of the first chapter. Let's just revisit that quickly.
Which is it very plotline complete. It's kind of like a one-off story.
Yeah, it's like a one shot. It's crazy.
It ends on a note where I'm like, that was beautiful. It's like a whole thing though.
But it also leaves off the characters in such a place where it's like something needs to be resolved, something that's not resolved yet, and it does what I love. It makes the story and the characters, they're in a different place than when they started, and they still have a lot that they need to do and figure out. As in terms of like an emotional arc, it does have one from start to finish. But in terms of like plot, it still has a lot of questions that are unanswered and things that, problems that aren't solved.
Mhm.
But even the solutions to those problems are things I did not see coming. I did not, I'm not going to act like I can sit here and tell you everything that's going to happen in every series that I read. I can guess a lot of the times where a story is going to go.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I have no idea.
Which is the same thing I felt with Chainsaw
Yes.
Man. It's this like, oh, I like how you're tricking me because
Yeah.
I have no idea where the story's going.
I remember that feeling where I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know if the main character is going to die or not. I have no idea who's going to live or who's going to die. I don't even know what direction the main character is going in. And that's how I feel at the end of it. Like, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't say like, oh, they're going to go to the academy.
Yeah. Well, we covered it in our chapter 1 review, but basically it's a story about our main character, who is Momo Ayase. And in the beginning of the series, in the first chapter, she's just a girl who has a history of string of bad relationships, I guess.
She pursues people who look like a celebrity she has a crush on.
Yeah.
But
Ken Takakura is this celebrity.
Which is like an older man celebrity.
But he's explained in the scanlation that we read, he's explained to be like a Clint Eastwood type figure in Japanese culture.
Mm.
Clint Eastwood, I get it.
just a ruggedly handsome man.
And usually those types, not the best types of dudes.
Right. So she likes bad boys, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, bad
and-
pretty boys
Yeah.
that always
At
end.
first.
At first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how it seems. And then it goes more into it now for her to be like, oh, you have like a good interest in people.
Yeah.
I thought it was like, oh, it's just like it's like a surface level attraction she has, but then it like goes into it and it's like not that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also she has a huge crush on that celebrity.
Yeah.
And I like how like her boyfriend was a scumbag,
Mhm.
and within like a sentence she is throwing hands.
Yeah. Yeah. And then she comes across a character who I, for the time being, will call Okuran. And he is a nerdy guy who is obsessed with aliens and just sci-fi in general. And she is someone who's obsessed with, and rightfully so, which we'll find out more of those reasons why later, with ghosts and sort of the occult. This series calls itself like the new occult series, the new occult series on the scene or something, like an occult classic.
Yeah, because it's more like we said in chapter 1, it's very reminiscent of Jujutsu Kaisen, where you have these characters that are like, let's go to the school and see if we can find ghosts, and then, oh shit, there might actually be one here. But their relationship is like, I don't believe what you believe in, so why don't we bet on it and see who's actually fucking right?
Yeah, because she stops him from being picked on.
Yeah, he gets like papers thrown at him, which hey, we've all been there.
Not all of us.
No, we all have. And it was a believable loser character, in that he just like learned to just accept it.
Yeah, I think the glasses really sold it for me.
Yeah, and I like how like she got like a lot of depth to her because she sees that and immediately stops it from happening.
Mhm.
She's still just like, well, you're not interesting, so never mind.
Mhm.
But like she doesn't like then smack him and then walk away.
No, she's like just like a genuine person that if she sees wrong, she's gonna be like, hey, don't be an asshole, but we're not friends or anything.
Yeah.
Just I'm doing you a favor, just fucking stand up for yourself for once in your life.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, someone talk to me.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to let this opportunity slip away.
No.
we've all been there too.
I mean, that we have been.
Oh,
He
yeah.
doesn't want to let that opportunity slip away, so he approaches her and tries to talk to her about the only thing that he really cares about or is interested in, and that is aliens.
And
And
like, have you You know about UFOs?
She's like, UFO, more like, you a hoe.
She does say that.
I think Megan just says more like and has no idea what she's
I
gonna
felt
say.
that pause and be like, she was
But I
like,
got it.
You did
Yeah,
get
you know.
there, wherever there is. And then they kind of strike a deal. She doesn't believe in aliens. She thinks aliens are silly. And he doesn't believe in ghosts. He thinks ghosts are silly.
Which
so
is
there's
a-
comedy that comes from that, too.
it's a great
Yeah.
thing. Like, that's just a fun situation. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But aliens, those are real. Which that is the thing. Like, aliens are put in the tier of paranormal, but it's like, aliens, if they're real, they wouldn't be paranormal. They would just be, like, nature. Like, they wouldn't be
Nature.
like paranormal. But aliens are put in the same category as ghosts.
Because I think some people think that maybe aliens are, or let's say ghosts and demons are from other dimensions as well.
Well, that's a different thing.
One and the same, I think.
Okay, Josh, you're being way too extraterrestrial, okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Extraterritorial.
That more like it. But yeah, so they strike this deal. I'll go to a place where there's a lot of ghost sightings. If you go to this place where there's a lot of alien and UFO activity.
And whoever loses is the other person's errand boy.
Yeah. And already it's an interesting start to an interesting story.
And I like the girls' friends. I like how they're like, they're pretty typical. Like, they talk like pretty typical, like, teenage, like, girls in high school.
Yeah.
But then they're not, like, mean.
No.
They are like, yeah, she's just pursuing that type of guy. I don't know what to tell you. Oh, see, she's moved on to like nerdy boys. Okay, like she doesn't. They don't then go like, oh, she's dating absolute losers now.
Now we can't
trash.
talk to her anymore because
Yeah.
she's a fucking loser too. It's like, oh, okay, this is what you're doing. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I do think that they're also being her friends. They're like very aware of how troubled she is when it comes to dating. Like,
yeah, and also
here she goes
just
again.
her in general. I feel like she's very like independent, and she says what's on her mind constantly, and sometimes guys don't like that. So they're like, okay, she's gonna do her. She's gonna be her.
Yeah.
She's gonna have to find someone who accepts that, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. And then they go to their separate locations. He goes to a tunnel that's haunted by ghosts. And she goes to like the middle of a forest. And
Yeah, some building. That
the building.
yeah,
the building,
She
yeah.
goes to an abandoned building. He goes to an abandoned tunnel, or just a
The
tunnel.
tunnel,
You're not
yeah.
supposed to. Yeah, oh, if you go there after night, ghosts.
Yeah,
are there.
there's rumors and, the whole occult thing online of sightings and stuff like that.
They
So-
start talking over the phone. I like how they're like, "You're actually pretty nice to talk to."
Yeah.
I like how they get like, I believe that they get along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like an unbelievable thing where this like super nerdy guy is like talking to this like crazy attractive girl and they're totally opposite ends of the world. It's like, oh, as much as paranormal and occult stuff is completely different, it's combined into not being like accepted by society. So they're like, oh, this is cool to talk to someone who
Yeah,
knows about this stuff, even though I don't believe in it at all.
Yeah.
she gets to share that, like, yeah, she was ostracized for believing in like ghosts and spirits and stuff, and how he can relate to that. And I think they even pause. I'm like, you're actually pretty easy to talk to. He's like, well, over the phone, I think we.
Yeah, because I think it's also in this chapter too that when she's explaining that, she's shown to do this hand sign that she learned from her grandma, who we do meet later.
We do meet later, and it's amazing.
I had to double read some.
Oh, I bet you
I
did.
thought
I bet you did. I bet you fucking did. Double read, more like double D.
some saved images.
I had to go back because for me, and we'll talk about it more when we get there, but because they did such a good job at misdirecting me.
Yeah.
That I was convinced that I saw a picture of her grandma in the first chapter. Like 100% convinced that I saw a picture of her and she, knew what she looked like.
Same thing. I was like, that's not what I saw. And I'm like, no, they never once said that that's what she looked like.
And just to give like credit again where it's due, like such a lot is jam packed in this first chapter that it's a like Cody was saying, it's a complete story. We get to see her backstory, kind of his backstory in such a short amount of time, only a couple panels, and it's like, oh, okay, this is I understand this character now.
Mhm.
I get it because the writing is fucking superb.
Yeah.
They're believable in what they're saying, and it's everything you could
I
want.
believe that these people will grow as friends because
Yeah.
they get along and they can relate to each other on like, and it doesn't just seem like, oh, they're friends now. It is like, I believe that's how people meet and like get to know each other.
Yeah. And when they're at their separate locations, they both run into what they were expecting to, or what the other person was expecting them to run
In
into.
the worst way.
In the worst
in
way.
the worst way.
And that's the thing. When this, like, it is pretty, like, funny, but, like, when it is creepy, it's pretty creepy.
Yeah.
It's amazing how the mangaka and the art are able to capture these really eerie, uncomfortable...
Those little angle changes, yeah.
It's the angle, and it almost looks like there's some sort of fisheye or distorted lens on the panel in the frame, and it's, like, it's truly horrifying and scary. I mean... And it's also where like the art seems to just even get way better than it already is, and it's already amazing. But she runs into these aliens that at first
like fake models of a human being.
Yeah,
that shot I in anime, just like I want to see that shot just dragged out with that little echoing sound play.
I can hear
that.
I can hear like them talking on the phone, and then just her being like, it's like music, like, oh, you're pretty easy to talk to, like really nice, and then just like silence, and then they're just standing there.
And
that's how crazy
that
the feeling
shot
is.
Like that was real. That was when I was reading it at first. That was like that. That's what got me super.
Imagine
interested.
seeing that. Like, it's terrifying.
I think that's one of the first panels you sent to us.
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
You wanted us to read it, and I was like, based on this one panel alone, I'm in. I'm interested.
It captured the feeling. Like I felt scared at that
I
moment. Like
know.
it captured the feeling.
And
Like
it's
if you were just staring, just like I want to see an anime to just know that it is stretched out of her just standing there, them standing there, and that brief moment of like, oh my god.
Because it's not like horrifying necessarily. It's just like it's enough to like make you really uncomfortable
It like
Because-
causes dread.
and feel
Yeah.
super on edge.
Because they're not like, if it was just three guys there, it'd be of course scary. But the fact that they like sort of look like men,
Right,
but there's something off a little bit,
Yeah, that's the thing. They're not like monsters.
and they're all identical.
at this point.
Yeah.
But they're all identical. Their features are like slightly exaggerated in that they all have like kind of big heads,
Like
but they
boxy.
move really weird.
yeah,
and
the
that's-
way
Ugh.
they run,
No.
which I like that, but like yeah, it is like they don't. These aren't their bodies. And that's something that always disturbs me, is seeing something that isn't used to moving like a human.
It's subtle too. It's subtle. It's as an artist, it's like a subtle thing to capture. I don't think a lot of people would even think that, but he's showing us that like these aren't humans. They don't move like humans.
It kind of reminded me of like To Your Eternity, when he's
Yeah,
like getting
yeah.
used to the new body. He's like flapping around and he's like moving
Yes.
around. Like that was disturbing, even though it wasn't the same type of feeling. It was just like, I don't like that.
Yeah. I was blown away. And she gets brought into a room and
then
is
kind of the
probed.
Yeah, almost
the
pro.
roller coaster that the story can do is because on the guy's end,
Yes.
it is very dark comedy.
It seems that way. Yeah, because he runs into an old woman, which we later find out, or I don't even know if that's her name or they call her that, but Turbo Grandma.
She's a runner. She's a truck stop.
That is the nickname they have given to a famous like urban legend ghost figure out there. It's like it's like the name is the 100 kilometer grandmother or something. They call it the Turbo Granny.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, she's more on the monster side compared to the versions of these aliens that we've seen. And she's also horrifying.
Yeah.
Because he gets an equally disturbing shot of him looking up and then just a ghost is staring at him.
But I can feel like the proximity. I can feel that she's right on him. And it's just so good.
Yeah.
Man. And then she says a line that, it was funny because Cody was like, I don't think this is the real translation. I don't think this is the correct translation.
I don't think they there's no way she actually said that. Some variation of it, maybe.
I don't know. I mean, throughout it, you see like them cussing and stuff, and I'm like, oh, that's cool.
And something happens later that
A lot
makes
of
it-
things consistently happen to where that's not unbelievable that she says that.
She
No.
says two things, actually. The first thing she says is, let me suck your dick.
Yeah.
Which coming out of a ghost is, coming out of anybody, pretty scary. Yeah.
It's paranormal for you, huh, Josh?
Some weird, fantastical.
Yeah, it's something that cannot
just-
happen in everyday life.
No,
It
just
is
leave the para
It's
off.
fear of the unknown.
fear of the unknown.
Leave the
There you
para
go,
off.
Cody.
It's normal. It's
It's
very
scary
normal.
for you. It's scary because it's just you haven't.
That's like people don't say that. It's like
Not
it's like
everyone
weird-
experiences that in their
That's
lifetime.
out of this world, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is.
Yeah. The other line she says is, I'll let you suck on my titties, I think.
Yeah.
I might be paraphrasing, but I'm pretty sure it was that. And I mean, I thought too, like, if there was one translation note that they might have gotten wrong, it might be this one.
But then you see a lot of things consistently happen that, like, maybe the wording was a little bit off, but that was the intention.
And I guarantee you, because as of the chapter 1 video, it was so new and so fresh. There was no news of it being adapted or translated or anything. And then as of this recording, it's been recently announced that Shonen Jump is picking it up and going to be officially translating it starting in August, right?
Yeah.
Which
So
is
we'll see.
exciting.
We'll see. By the
yeah.
way, I can't wait to own physical copies of this.
I
Yeah,
know.
this is something that I know, like, this will be popular. So I know, make sure I buy them when they first come out so I don't end up having to, like, go to multiple places and ask.
Yeah, and I love through every chapter. At the end of every chapter, we get a little page of just, like, you know, the mangaka just like drawing her or him or them together, and they have outfit changes, and it's so, like, colorful and cute, and it's awesome.
Stay with me on this for a second, but those panels remind me so much of Bleach, and it really brings me back to, like, what it felt like when I was younger reading that series, because Tite Kubo, the mangaka of Bleach, was the first mangaka that I had ever seen that took his characters from this, like, fantasy story and drawn them in, like, streetwear clothing. I'm sure a lot of manga artists had done it before him, but he was the first person that I saw do that. So he would show, like, Ichigo, who was usually in these, like, you know, these, like, kind of like, what do you call them? Like,
it's like traditional,
robes.
like, samurai
Yeah,
garb, or
traditional, like these, like samurai
judo, like a
garb.
judo. I don't know the name. I don't know the specific
but
one.
then, you know, it would cut to them, like, in hoodies and having, like, Nikes on and, like, streetwear, but it looked, like, current, it looked modern, and it looked cool, and it just, like, for whatever reason, it captured this, like, just, like, hip energy about it. And I remember reading it and being like, this is fucking cool, dude. and same with Dandadan, like, showing those panels at the end, and they're in their different clothes, and they just look modern, they look badass, and they look, like, trendy, and I love
like
it.
that there's a reason that the guy, he's, like, dressed in very trendy clothes too. Like, that's not even just I think, because it is like, oh, like, he wouldn't dress like that. There's a reason he's dressed like that in those things.
Yeah, I guess looking back on it, like, maybe it's because, like, when I was younger, I really felt like manga was, like, this super nerdy thing. But then I would see those things and be like, nah, this is cool. And people just don't know how cool it is. Like, it made me feel like, I don't know. It made me
Made you feel cool?
made me feel
I
cool.
mean, if we're gonna, I think cool is a good description for this manga. It's a pretty like, I mean, you know that in the anime, the music is gonna be awesome because it has to be. Otherwise, they blew it.
It's coolific.
It's gonna be funky.
Yeah, and we haven't even seen the Chainsaw Man anime yet, but Mappa picked this up too. While you're at it, pick up Dandadan.
Or Bones.
Of all the
Or
assistants.
Bones.
Or Bones.
Yeah, Studio Bones would be awesome too.
Holy shit.
But where do we leave off? So yeah,
she gets abducted by the aliens who wish to mate. This is where the controversial part of this series would entirely be focused on.
Yeah, and we kind of touched on it in our chapter 1 too, where, you know, obviously it's like she's like half naked. I mean, she's pretty much naked, and we're like, oh, here we go again, another manga, you know, fan service clickbait type shit. And it didn't really bug me. I just was kind of worried about it going forward.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is
it didn't
what it
bug
was.
me necessarily because it made kind of sense why it was happening, and it was almost like done to such an extreme that it was absurd and comedic. Like there's literally a panel where one of the aliens, when they're still in, like, their human form, has this, like, it doesn't even look like a dick or whatever.
It's like an
just
antenna.
like an antenna, and he's literally, like, hunched over, like, kind of gesturing to it, and it looks very funny. Like, it didn't rub me in a way that made me feel like, oh, this is fan service. This is just to see some anime titty.
Yeah, I think there could be some metaphors going on because she kind of has a sexual awakening.
She does have an awakening for sure.
I don't know about.
Well, that's what the aliens were
Yeah.
trying to do.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
See, I mean, I'm not. It's not like word for word that, but it is like,
Yeah.
if you're feeling like where does this fit into the theme of this story about teenagers? I mean, that's
She
Yeah,
had
I
to be
did-
stripped away
If it's a literal metaphor going
of her
on here,
outer shell to awaken in her spiritual.
Well, I think
I mean, there you go. Look how simple that was.
I think what it is too is we especially see that with our other character, and I was kind of thinking about that too when something happens to him later that we'll talk about when we get there. But it made me feel like, is this all sort of a metaphor for puberty and just like adolescence and like, you know, becoming comfortable with your body and like your sexuality? And
That's the like, there's like potty humor situations, but yeah, like you can see them be in these, like people being like forced in the, like being like absolutely exposed in these horrible, embarrassing situations.
yeah. And so we should mention too that he has this weird encounter with this turbo granny, and then it cuts to her being probed, right?
Well, not, oh, they're
About to.
They're about to probe her. And how does turbo granny...
her phone
That's
goes
it.
off, and then the boy like shoots out from it, and he's like, his joints are all moved around, and he's just screaming like, "Help me!" And it was real. I really like that design because, as I have discovered, I am a sucker for characters who are bonded to a dark entity that gives them a big teethy smile.
It checks all the boxes.
Checks all the
for
boxes.
code.
It is a weird thing. I see it enough for them to be like, this is just a thing I like.
Yeah, and...
I love the way it moves. I love how he like moves, and it's kind of like a break dancer, and like all of his joints, and like I want to hear those things. Like, I
Yeah.
want to hear his joints pop and moving around, and then you get his moment is like he's like managing to kind of overpower the ghost a little enough to like start like making like moves of his own.
Yeah.
And that's when she awakens pretty
Yeah.
much in her spiritual power, and she like completely just overpowers them, and it's just like
Yeah,
like,
because the
she's like,
aliens are like trying to like, we'll say brainwash her, because I'm not sure exactly what they're saying, but they are trying to control her mind.
yeah,
And that like opens up. So it is this funny thing where she gets her powers because of aliens, which she didn't believe in. He gets his powers because of ghosts, which he didn't believe in.
Yeah.
So it's a nice little thing. And I love the way I wasn't like super impressed with her powers until later on where I get to see more of the visual effects of it.
yeah.
But
But that wasn't needed in chapter 1. We could
Yeah.
see that later.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
was also kind of a little unclear as to what her powers exactly were in the first chapter, because
Yeah.
she just kind of did this like really amazing thing with little to no effort. She awakened and just caused everything that was, you know, binding her down to just like fall apart.
Yeah.
And she seemed like
sounds
super
like your
powerful.
ex-girlfriend.
Oh.
Yeah.
Another ex-girlfriend joke.
Not a joke.
Not a joke. I guess.
But yeah, you pointed out that there was a scene on like when like the aliens are like shooting like psychic like blasts, and then the guy is like running on the walls,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can just see like you could hear the
Yeah.
as he's like stomping by. I love that you can see he's got pointed toes now that are sticking out of the shoe. I love that design so much. It's so weird knowing what's causing that design because of what ghost is in him.
Yeah, because I don't even know if we said that he was possessed by the
Turbo
Granny.
The Turbo Granny is an old urban legend, and if it outraces you, you get cursed.
Yeah.
He ran away, so it like caught up to him and like cursed him.
And we should also say that the aliens transform at this point
And
too.
they in like a really cool design.
So
I like the
freaking
visual
cool.
effect when they start using their psychic powers. That's like a really
And it's all like, again, like, you know, you've seen it before. You've seen aliens, you've seen ghosts, and it just feels so original. Like,
Yep. Mhm.
you've seen it before, but you haven't because it's here now and
You
it's new.
definitely haven't seen anything like visually before, but you have seen some of these like maybe story beats or some beats that are similar
Yeah.
to it before. But the world and everything that you're like seeing with your eyes, I've never seen before. But
yeah, like I'm sure I've seen that pattern before, but like on
Yeah.
an alien and like on their powers, like it popped out to me.
yeah, and then just to kind of really, because we're still on the first chapter,
It's a very full story.
Yeah.
and I know we talked about it in our chapter 1 video, but having time to like sit with it mixed with like getting to read the rest of it, it just changes the context, and it just makes it a lot cooler than I think. And I already loved it the first time I read it, but then reading it again, like I loved it even more.
Yeah.
But they both, so you know,
escape.
they escape, they resolve that issue between the Turbo Granny and the aliens, but
The Turbo Granny
yes,
has done a terrible curse.
terrible curse, which which ghost are you took your...
That's very funny. Very funny. I have no comeback, and you got me.
What was her name?
And that's
a fair joust.
A fair joust, my friend.
Yeah. But this is what I was talking about at the end of the series, or at the end of the chapter. Like, she's still in him. Turbo Granny's still in the other character, which there's a reason I haven't been saying his name, by the way. Still in this other character, and he is not able to really control at all, because usually at the end of like a first chapter, the character will be able to like harness the power that they've been given, and you'll know, well, that's what this character is going to be now in this story. But he can't control it at all, and he's trying desperately to get it out of him. But because Momo Ayase has her new powers and her new awakening, she can suppress the curse within him, and she does. And that's when they have this like really emotional moment by like a river or something. And yeah, they start getting to know each other. It's at this point you realize that you have never been told this kid's name before, which also, because of everything else that's been happening, never even crossed my mind.
Yeah.
Same with the grandma thing.
He's one of those guys that you don't care you never think to ask what their name is.
And again, yeah. And me, the reader, didn't even think to ask what his name was. He tells her what his name is, and he happens to have the same exact name of her celebrity crush. And it catches her off guard, and there's a beautiful page of her just reacting to him saying that. And she's
Cherry blossoms blowing in the wind, classic. Like I could hear the heartbeat in the background. Like, so again, I use visceral a lot, but this is like, it's perfect. It's so insane. And that panel, and then it just ends, and you're like, that was a chapter?
That was a
what?
chapter.
Because that felt like the conclusion of she starts her story where she's like, oh, I have a crush on this celebrity. I'm trying to get mine to look like him, but also I'm not just purely attracted to that, but like the men I find aren't that good. And then she finds this guy, and he's like, oh, my name's Takura Ken, and she goes, like, just this, like, what are the odds?
What are the odds? And it's almost like, yeah, I mean, it's poetic, because it's like the universe is telling her, like, this is your guy, not these other guys that you've been like going after that emulate what you think he is, but like a real brave person, someone who's not like typical action hero brave, but it's just like a normal, kind, I'm going to try to protect people if I can kind of brave.
Yeah, because he's like, I mean, we can go into it more, but he's not the most confident person.
Absolutely not.
So, and then yet, it's not like he's just giving up. Like, he's like, I'm gonna just try the best I can, and of course I'm gonna be scared, but I have someone I need to protect here, so I'm gonna do the best I can.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, he's not action hero brave, but he does do what he can. He doesn't give up. He doesn't run away.
Yes.
Yeah.
The classic thing of bravery isn't not being afraid. It's continuing on despite your fear.
Absolutely, Cody. Wow.
Men who feel no fear cannot be brave.
I couldn't have said it better myself, dude.
Green Lantern. That's where I learned that.
Wow. We are only on chapter 2.
Yeah.
And he says a lot of lines that Takura Ken says. And I don't know if that's a coincidence or he is like... Because this is something I've been told of, like, you sort of just pretend to be someone else and you just sort of like say... so I don't know if like, because she's like, oh, that's a line from an ad the actor did. So I don't know if he sees those ads and he went, that's what I should say, or if it's just like, or if it's a bizarre coincidence that he keeps saying these things.
Fate.
It could be fate. It also could mean that if you're somebody that grew up with the exact name of another celebrity, you've been told that before. You're aware of that.
That's a really good point.
And
like, there's no way he wouldn't.
There's no way he wouldn't know that. So maybe he has like started to take on some of his characteristics, or at least like, tried to emulate him a little.
Well,
more.
yeah. I mean, if his name is from an actor, I mean, who knows? Maybe his parents had an influence on that
maybe
too.
Maybe that's his stage name. The real actor. Who knows? I mean, this story could go anywhere. But where it does go.
I saw just looking it up on people like, oh, is he like the reincarnated actor? Was he like cursed to be younger again or something? Or what, does she have a crush on a celebrity from the future?
I have no idea.
It's fun that they're already speculating to this extent with this series because it can go anywhere. But where
the
it does go...
The important thing is he had his dick taken by the ghost.
Yeah.
And he's not that concerned.
I mean, he's more concerned with getting this ghost out of him than he is with getting his dick back. But
And that's what you realize the story. You find out the moral of it all is sometimes it takes losing your dick to grow some balls.
Whoa.
are there freaking note cards around here somewhere, dude? Because
That deserves a fucking round of
are
applause.
you just pulling these out of your asshole or
Wow.
what?
Oh,
Asshole. Just say ass.
don't say hole.
Sorry.
Don't say
Well, not the whole-
hole.
although it kind of makes more sense.
Yeah, but it was way harsher.
Don't say hole.
I didn't realize until I said it. It's too by hole. It's too late. You
Yeah,
can't-
yeah, you can't take it back.
Yeah. So after this, and first of all, having that break in between and everything, and just being able to digest it, it didn't really help. It was a lot to take in.
But that is a solid pause note on
Yeah.
the story, which is why it's weird reading it because I'm like that is like 2 volumes worth of storylines at least.
So they
and
go
development.
Yeah, they go back to because his clothes are all messed up and her clothes are all messed up, and so they go back to her house. She's said that she lives with her grandma, who I could have freaking sworn we saw in the first chapter. They go and by the way, she told us earlier on that her grandma was very keen to like the spirit world, right?
Yeah.
And spiritual like
so
energy.
we see where her house is. It's pretty much like a shrine.
It's like a shrine. And again, one of the coolest shots in this chapter is Ken just sort of walks in and immediately is just set on fire.
Yeah.
It's straight
because-
into flames.
Yeah.
Like, so funny. They're like, oh, everything's fine now. We can relax.
Yeah.
Because her
He's
grandma,
like, we'll be safe. Ghosts can't come at us.
her grandma has put these, I don't know what you call them,
Barriers, talismans.
yeah, on the side of the entryway to stop spirits from getting in. I don't know if it's right here too that we see a cut to a psychic on TV.
It's around then where you get a psychic being like, "Oh, you're 27.
Hilarious.
I'm 20. You are married with a child. I'm single." And I was like, "Oh, this is the fake psychic they'll meet later."
You like curry. I like ramen.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
yeah.
You motherfucker.
And then there's this whole conversation with the producers of the TV show after the psychic leaves. And by the way, the psychic, who I did think was the grandma at that
Yeah.
point.
I thought that was the psychic. I was like, "Oh, her grandmother was a fraud."
Yeah.
because she's in like a costume.
Yeah.
And the producers are like, man, should we even air that?
Yeah.
And they're, both like, it's kind of funny seeing her miss. I think the
Yeah,
viewers
and
want to see that too. It'll be
it's a-
great TV.
It's a lot. We can't just not put this out. We spent a lot of money on this production, and
Yeah.
if you think about the actual scope of the TV world, it's
We can't just not.
can't
Yeah,
just
we
not
spent a
put
lot
it
of
out.
money. It was a big
Yeah.
budget.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
no,
have
I mean,
cameras, lights,
Yeah.
cast, crew. I mean, come on.
But then we forget about that for a second. And
Yeah, it sort of just seemed like okay, so in this world there's other people that claim to be
Yeah.
psychics.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, humor lands. Like
Every
I was
time.
laughing. Like
Yeah.
I was fucking laughing. I was laughing pretty much every other panel. Like it's hilarious.
I was a mixture of laughing and in awe of the art.
Yeah.
It was back and forth
Yeah.
between those
the
two.
the creepy moments start dying down,
Mhm.
but every now and then I am like, that's a really disturbing shot.
Yeah. They're in her room. She has Takakura Ken stuff all over her walls. She changes
Her room's so
into-
cute, by the way.
Very cute room.
Very her.
Yes.
Loved
like,
it.
Yeah, it's another detail to characters. You get to see a room that she would actually live in. Like,
Yeah.
It feels like she lives
They
in
don't
it.
Yeah.
do the
That's one thing I loved in My Hero, not to bring up My Hero, but like when they were showing their rooms in the
Mm-hmm.
dorms, I was like, oh, I love personalized
Yeah, it's a
character
nice
stuff
little
that we
touch.
don't have to see,
Yeah.
but it just makes me like, oh, they have personalities and
Yeah.
they're real.
Yeah,
Like
it
it
gives
was
them a
good.
place to go when they're off screen.
Yeah.
And it's cool.
It's cool.
So she changes, he changes. He, accidentally peeks in on her changing, and that's just a little bit of a fan service.
that is the
Ish
fan service
moment.
is I was doing quoting to accidentally, but
And he comes in and he's like, I can't control it. And she's like, okay, whatever.
Because
Because like
he's-
at that point, she's just like, I don't see you as a threat.
Sexual being.
Yeah,
now.
all right, yeah.
which he's
person I would-
literally not a sexual being. anymore.
No.
So-
But he's also having a hard time controlling the curse. And it's important to note too that they're changing, and what causes him to like barge in is because whenever they're separate or whenever there's a wall or a barrier between them, hence the door being closed, like she can't control the curse in him, and it's the Turbo Granny starts to come out again.
Yes, whenever the barrier between them is too big, he loses control.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. Always. You always must have eyes
On the prize.
the prize. Yes. Also, they're going back and forth, and arguing about them seeing each other changing or whatever. And then all of a sudden, they hear a doorbell.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's like, that's not the normal
She's
doorbell.
like, Grandma told me there was two doorbells.
doorbells,
I've
yeah.
never heard that doorbell before.
One for regular people and one for
and
ghosts.
one for ghosts. Oh, so much fun. I would love to hear that doorbell at
Already.
fucking 3
And
a.m.
That was one of those things where like, pause, chimes are blowing on that statement. That was a disturbing little moment. Of like,
and she goes, oh, no shit, I took down the talismans. Of course they're going to come knocking at the fucking door. Because they probably always try to do that because they feel that presence in
because
that
her
house.
grandma, I don't even want to say that. We'll talk about it later. But so yeah, they go outside, they try to find out what's happening, and then all of a sudden everything is pitch black. They plan on running away, or at least Ken running away, but so she can slap him back on the pillars and activate the protection shield or whatever. And they notice that there's not only darkness around them, but there's a wall. They can't get out, and the actual like archway is buried. It's like half in the wall, half outside of the wall, so they can't get to the outside to slap the things on them again. And then they see what they think is an alien, but actually is a ghost, or is a ghost that they think that is an alien.
I think it's because Ken thinks it's an alien.
Yeah.
It's
Ken
speci-
goes,
I
oh,
think-
it's an alien. He's like, I'm fine. I'm not scared of aliens.
The translation specifically like mentioned the Flatwoods monster, and it does kind of look like that. But the Flatwoods monster, by the way, is one of the weakest urban legends I've heard.
Yeah, I've never heard of that. They said it's in America? They said it originated
that's
from America?
That's an not Middle Eastern, but like Midwestern urban legend
Like
about
Sasquatch?
more like the Mothman.
I don't like urban legends are kind of scary.
They're so wacky to me.
But
Oh, I thought you said whack.
I mean, kind of whack, but kind of fun.
But I like when he just goes, yeah, no, I can help you. I'm not scared of aliens. If it was a ghost, no, because I'm dealing with that internally and externally. But I'll help you out.
And the only way that they can think, and again, we might be kind of getting through things fast or going through things fast, but it's because like there's so much to unpack here.
Yeah.
Basically, they figure that they can beat this thing because it's almost like a sumo wrestler entity. It's huge, and it's kind of, it's picking one leg up and slamming it leg down, and it's causing all of these sort of just all this destruction and all this rubble to kind of go everywhere.
Which I love that. I mean, you see him doing all these things. You're like, oh my God, the house is wrecked.
Yeah.
Everything's getting fucked up. And then like, okay.
Magic.
Magic. Yeah.
By the way, I really like the clear dynamic they have, which is he is purely physical, but he's very strong.
Yeah.
And she has more utilitarian powers that she can use for a lot of things, but it's not as strong as
And she's just learning how to do them. It's
Yeah.
not like, oh, I'm the master at this, or oh, he's the master at this. And then we get that fucking page where he transforms into the Turbo Granny / him, Okaroon, and I'm just like, oh, what?
Which,
that
by the way,
shot of him like running while holding her, so fun to read.
Amazing. And by the way, we were calling him Okaroon too because that's the name that she gives him because she refuses to call him by his real name because it reminds her of her crush. And
So
she's like,
funny.
You're nothing like that, and I don't want to hear that
And he
again.
just goes, okay.
And no, he goes, but that's my name.
He goes, that's my name. She goes, no, it's not. He goes,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
It's fine.
But yes, the transformation scene. Oh my God, dude. I mean, do you think Denji turning into Chainsaw Man, which is still fucking rad, but like seeing Ken turn into this like half Turbo Granny, half Ken was like one of the coolest transformations ever.
Because I really like how he becomes very like fluid and disjointed, and when he moves, it's drawn to show you that he's kind of like stretching his movements as he goes. And like I love this power, and I want to see it in movement. And this is I can see it already the way it's drawn.
Yeah, because he gained her power and he gained her speed too, so he's really fast.
Yes, and he has a very strong bite.
And it's hilarious. It just makes sense. He's like, oh, yeah, that hurt. Humans are not supposed to move that fast.
Yeah.
I need to take a beat. And it's like, yeah, no shit. That makes a lot of sense.
Now he has limits.
Goes to the thing of like she doesn't know everything she can do. She has a limit to what she can do. And he's like, oh, he was able to like run on a wall and like bite someone, but like he hasn't done endurance tests. He doesn't know his limits either.
He can only really do it up until this point, I think, twice, and that's like pushing it.
Yeah. He's in pain for sure.
They have this idea because the entity looks like a sumo wrestler that if they can get it to fall on one knee as per the rules of sumo wrestling, that it'll just like forfeit or they'll win.
And I love that about the story too. It's like immediately, okay, plan, action, go.
Yeah.
It's not like it's not like an inner monologue every 5 seconds about what they're gonna do.
Grandma told me that this monster is kind of like this, this, and this.
No, it's like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. We think this is right. Let's see if it is. Let's go. It doesn't waste any time in like getting to the meat of the fight or like trying to come up with the concoction plan because they don't even fucking know what they're doing. So it's like you feel that. You feel that in the action scenes for sure.
Yeah, he uses his bite and his speed to get the thing down on one knee. Obviously, it doesn't forfeit. Obviously, it doesn't.
No,
they don't win.
Not how reality.
It's not how it works at all. Just because he kind of looks like a sumo wrestler doesn't mean he has to abide by those rules.
Which is the thing of like that was like it's like an epic shot. These like very well drawn moments, but it is just like, well, that was your plan? No, no, of course not. That's not how it works.
So, he starts pummeling Ken, and Ken can't hold the transformation. So, meanwhile, Momo is like, I'm not gonna take this shit because I think he like badmouths her or says something to her. He gets a rise out of her, and she's like, I'm not gonna let this asshole beat us. So she comes up with this plan. She runs towards the archway, and it looks like he's just beating the shit out of her. He's, has her against the wall, and he's just pounding her, and with every punch, she's going deeper and deeper and deeper into the wall.
And he's like, no. He's like, God damn it, Momo, no. I couldn't protect her. I'm useless. Fuck, dude.
And that's the point where she's like, it's like she looks right to camera, the camera's right in her face, and she's like, that's deep enough. And then she just whips
bitch,
out.
that's deep enough. I love the cussing. It totally reminds me of Chainsaw Man because that's how people fucking talk.
She whips out the seal, slaps it on the archway, uses her powers to like draw Ken to her, holds him tight because now they're outside technically of the barrier.
Is that the first time she does her astral hand?
I think so.
Yeah.
That's a thing that I really like the visual effect of that.
Love it, man. I fucking love it. And so they win. The seal's back on. And he, gets destroyed.
That was for like the first fight. That was great because it wasn't they're like, oh, our first enemy, let's get him. They would have lost in a straight up fight.
Mm-hmm.
I like that being handled that way. Like, he gave her enough time to figure out a plan, and now here's her plan. They outsmarted. They don't necessarily
win
the fight.
Yeah. And the flames and it going. It's amazing and then they break it, and of course she's fucking beat. She's
she passes out.
She passes out, and he's like, no. And then does he pass out too? Right?
No, she passes out.
Yeah.
And then because she's passed out,
she can't tame him.
She can't tame the curse, so the curse comes all the way out, and that's when Grandma shows up.
Yeah.
I guess this might as well be a spoiler point, even though I don't really know.
I'll agree, just because this got me. I don't think it is a spoiler. If you want to keep listening, I do think you can and not get anything ruined. But there's one little kind of twist here. So if there was some sort of noise to indicate that.
It's spoiler time.
There it is.
There it is. They freaking got me, dude.
Yeah.
They got me.
Dang.
I got.
You got reverse lollied.
I got reverse lollied.
What's funny is
hardcore.
I've seen previews of like this because I was, I like go through and be like, oh, when does this story part end? Blah, blah, blah. Who's this character? Blah, blah, blah. And I still I fell for that trick. I wouldn't have guessed.
I literally wrote, oh my God, Granny's stacked.
Stacked. Fucking powerful,
badass, funny, fun.
She reminded me, and I know.
Bleach?
No, actually, yeah, Bleach and Naruto a little bit because I got some vibes. She reminded me of the Tsunade character, who is supposed to be this really old woman, but it's just stacked and powerful.
Yeah,
and then a little bit of the Yorichi character from Bleach, just in that she's this like super powerful, magical, cocky person. And yeah, she's hot, she's badass, she's got it all. She's no grandma that I've ever seen.
No, and they kind of touch on that later. They're like, oh, your grandma is pretty young, and that might go into another aspect of her fucking life, which is amazing.
Yeah.
It just sets up so many questions.
And I like the way she fights.
Me too.
Yeah.
I feel like it would have been easy to have her just like hit him with the baseball bat and be like, that's, years of experience makes you not. But like you see, she has like very specific, like she's done this for so long that she knows how to handle this threat. Like, walk it into this area and uncurse it. And then she's like, and I'm just going to kill you.
Well, because I mean, she knows. She finds out later that it is Turbo Granny, and she's just like, oh.
Which is cool that she knows of Turbo Granny. Like,
yeah,
she's aware.
It makes sense. That's her life.
Yeah.
Like obviously, she would hear about the nearest occult.
Yeah,
things.
and that was a little Jujutsu Kaisen-esque when she's got the like kind of similar to the hammer and nails. She's got these what are like bigger nails called, like spikes or picks.
They're spikes. I was
pikes.
like railroad spikes.
Pikes.
Pikes might actually be.
I think it is.
But she's got that and a bat, and she's using them to hammer in, and it's just so cool. The rules of her magic or her,
yeah,
whatever.
and people, I saw like a comment saying like, oh, I don't necessarily like how they do a lot of chibi stuff, like chibi, like just her little face and her explaining the nail and his little.
Oh, come on.
I love it, and I have no issues at all with it because I get so much more from. It's not relying on that.
I love that.
It's fine. You do you. This is perfect.
Yeah,
it adds that cuteness factor that I am obsessed with, and I am okay with it.
Yeah, I love it. It's also at this point too that the grandma has her badass moment. We think she's 100%. Well, we don't think that, but it's we're shown that she's gonna exorcise Turbo Granny, and whoever the host of that ghost is going to die as well.
Yeah,
that's the. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay, because part of it, my feeling, the tension, and the feeling of reading this is the same feeling of reading Chainsaw Man, because it was like the protagonist could die in Chainsaw Man.
Yeah, Momo could be the protagonist.
And the reason I'm like I love this design so much that I don't want it to go away.
Me too.
But the design going away doesn't mean that the character goes away. So that's where my tension is like, do not rob me of this design. I love the design of this character so much.
Yeah.
And then
I felt the exact same.
I'm worried about the death of a design.
Me too. That's how good it is. And again, the only reason I say like we were meant to believe that, but I really kind of felt like this character was gonna stay around, or at least I really hope they were. But Momo wakes up.
Yeah, Momo's like, what the fuck? Where am I? Oh my god! And their first thought is just like, where the fuck is Okarun?
Yeah, where is he?
I like how she isn't like she got a lot of depth. I like every time she gets these little moments like she's not 2-dimensional. She is like what happened to my partner? This is my fault.
She goes downstairs. Grandma's just watching TV. Yeah. She's like, oh, that fool? Yeah, I killed him. She's like, what?
Yeah, but
wait, where is he?
Also on the TV,
you get the
so good.
So
little
cool.
bow fucking tied. Yes, she's legit.
And
that's all I needed.
Yeah. It was that last little line too that really got.
Yeah, what did she say? Oh my god, what did she say?
News alert! We found out he's actually 27 years old.
Because this was an idol, by the way, a famous idol.
Yeah.
He does have a child with his partner, a secret family.
He's in front of like a press, and he's just like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And then she says to the TV, she's like, why don't you go ahead and tell him you like ramen too while you're at it? And it's just that little line was like, she fucking got me, dude.
Awesome.
So many chapters end on these circles being closed off. Yeah, I'm like, that could have been a fun little ending. Like a lot of these could be fun one-shot endings that are like complete on their own.
But enough absurdity to make you want to keep reading the next week.
Yeah.
Because of what could happen.
And then Mo was like, I love this part. So cute. She opens the door and his little ass is just eating a rice ball, and he's like, and he just is looking at her, and then she just closes. Before she closes the door, he's like, oh my god. And he's like crying, and he just looks so adorable.
Yeah, I like the pause that she gives herself before she opens the door again, where she's like, okay.
Yes,
what's
I'll
up?
deal with you.
I really liked her little moments all the time. Little Momo.
Little momos. She had little momos.
Yeah.
Her grandma has big momos.
Oh, most deaf. And then I like the you see this where the male, which is interesting because you would think that Ken would be the main protagonist because he hits most of the boxes, but he is. So far, he's the secondary protagonist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But fuck.
But it's also, they play with like kind of the rules of what's happening a little bit. And this is what I liked about it
his
too.
Hair.
His hair.
I like how he gets his they always get their makeover afterwards. And they're like, transforming change your hair? And he's like, yeah.
She's like, I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, but it looks way cooler too, and it fits more into that streetwear kind of aesthetic that we get to see between chapters. But also,
did the grandma give him the haircut?
Well, no, I think because remember his
it
hair
just fizzled out.
His hair became like, oh, you have a grandma perm now.
Yeah, and then
it goes back to being his hair, and then the next time we see him, he's got like a fade.
It's like an in between, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But they play with like kind of what's happening, right? Because the Turbo Granny has possessed him. He's looking down and he doesn't have a dick, which is something I think we found out when they were changing earlier, that he just doesn't have a dick.
He's like, oh my God, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's actually gone.
Yeah. She's like, can I see? He's like, no. She's like, why? I'm not going to see anything. He's like, that's not the point.
But then they play with that by him having to go to the bathroom, which means there's only one other place he could have to, relieve himself.
That must be crazy. Pee out of your butt.
I mean, he's got to do it all out of there. And so there's only one way to do that, and it's with Momo watching him, because if Momo takes her eyes off of him even for a second, then Turbo Granny comes out. So she basically has to figure out a way, either A, to be able to hold on to the curse through walls, or to just sit there and watch him poop.
Yeah, but like as like this is happening, as he's like they're learning these rules about what they can and can't do, Grandma's pretty much like, yeah. You're not gonna beat her unless you play tag. And they're like, play tag? And she's like, yeah, you have to play tag with her in order to beat her. So you guys are on a strict regimen, and you got to get stronger, and you got to get stronger, like immediately.
And I think it's around this time too that she starts telling them a little bit more about like the rules, and we're also led into. This is another thing that got me. I want to mention this too. Not only did I not expect Grandma to look like that, but I did not get from the first chapter that they had such a contentious relationship.
Yeah, there's some.
I thought it was going to be like, oh, that's my grandma, and I love her so much, and thanks, Grandma. But they don't get.
They fight all the time.
Well, they did mention that like she did have a weird relationship, because at some point she was like, "You're not real.
Well, no,
like what you do is not real." So
they
blah
play
blah.
it as this moment of a young girl saying something accidentally hurtful to her grandma, and then having to realize like, oh, that's my grandma. I'm sorry, Grandma. I took you for granted. I love you.
But her grandma, it makes sense.
Holds on to it.
It makes sense that they always butt heads because they're so similar. Because they're both
like, didn't you say I'm not a real psychic?
Yeah, they're both so independent, and they're both so snarky and like quick. Yeah. And I just think that's their relationship. And there's some other thing going on with someone that we have not met yet, that she mentions that, oh, there's someone that she tried to hurt, so I'm gonna hurt her. So she has like another,
right? And then
she
she like resented her grandma because she got her into paranormal things. A boy she had a crush on like made fun of her, so she like blamed her grandma for that growing up.
Yeah,
but also it did make sense that they did. So this story did have the classic like, where's this person I'm looking for? They're like, oh, them in the shed.
Yeah.
But in universe, the grandma is fucking with her.
Yeah.
She's doing it on purpose. It wasn't like plot wise to make the audience anxious. The grandma did it to the girl to make her worried and think her friend died.
Yeah, she's kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
But she's hilarious.
Yeah.
Anyway,
hard ass.
A hard ass. They speaking of asses, he has to shit. She tells her about visualizing the curse, that classic thing of like closing your eyes. If you could see it with your eyes, you could
hilarious
feel it with your hands.
She has this funny little mask.
Oh, with the
eyes. And she has her
it.
cigarette, and she's like, just close your eyes and imagine it. It's not all about seeing, it's about feeling. And yeah.
And I think it's around this point too that she tells her that there are different kinds of spirits. Mm-hmm. She also the grandma also doesn't think aliens are real. She thinks they're stupid.
Yeah, every time it's brought up, what do you mean they're not real? He's like, okay, another one, huh?
Because unless that Flatwoods monster was an alien, so far they deal with paranormal things.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And the series is calling itself an occult series too, so I don't know. But either way, this is where we learn about bound spirits, right? Versus like regular spirits. Mm-hmm. And that a bound spirit is bound to the location that it either passed at or haunts, and bound spirits are more powerful in their area. And then
kind of like she is.
Yes, because she said that her power comes from a bound spirit that is in that area, and if she leaves that area ever, she cannot use her power.
Or like gods.
Or gods.
Like gods in certain
yeah.
areas
Yeah.
give you powers and stuff, or like
Which
protection.
Is a cool way of like having her be this character, but if Momo and Ken or Momo and whoever need to ever go anywhere, like there's a reason for this cool character to not, powerful character
That's
to not go
why
with
she
her.
doesn't go. And then also you see later why their whole plan was to go to a different location.
Yeah.
And that's when it was able to happen, but
Yeah.
she didn't really need to get involved at that point. But it's just cool little things that are sprinkled, not too like over the top
It's not
or
too
like complicated.
Yeah.
It's like here, and we don't need to mention it again unless we need to or whatever. It's not
Just
complicated.
Neat little things to wrap up me being like, well, why doesn't that just
Yeah.
happen? Then be like, that can't happen. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Like,
Cool.
Like, I don't need much. Just tell me that, like, why can't this super powerful person go here? Well, they're limited. Okay.
Yeah. Simple as that. But yeah, so she explains her the rules to her and everything. She ends up trying to control the curse. She can't. Ken still has to use the bathroom. And then while he's using the bathroom, Turbo Granny like possesses him on a level and uses a power on a level we have never seen her use before, where she's able to like stop time.
Yeah.
And she like freezes Momo's grandma, who's also, waiting outside of the bathroom, and basically tells her like, I'm tired of this shit. I'm not going to wait for you to train. I'm not going to wait for you to get stronger. Come to the tunnel tonight and we're going to settle things here and now.
A really nice example of how this story isn't your typical story.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
your grandma was going like, you're going to do 100 squats, 100 sit-ups. You're going to do this, and you're going to get stronger. We're going to practice on this. And we're not doing that.
Yeah, you think a ghost fucking cares about that
Hell
shit?
no.
No.
Especially if they knew about that.
Also,
like,
Yeah.
Not letting you train.
No, it doesn't work like that.
And again, that eerie, like I could hear it's not his voice, it's Turbo Granny talking now, and just like, cut the shit, you little bitch. I am done with your bullshit. Meet me here. If not, then I'm gonna fucking kill this guy.
Yeah.
And then you just have the grandma who's just fucking bleeding out of her ears and nose, and it's like, oh yeah. And the grandma even acknowledges like, yeah, she's a tough one.
She basically says, you got to beat her in this game of tag. She values her speed, so you got to get a rise out of her. She'll chase you. If you can get her out of the area, she might be weak enough for you guys to handle. So good luck.
Yeah, neat little bows around the fact that she is like, okay, well, we don't have time to train,
Yeah.
and I can't go there,
And
Yeah.
I can't go there.
so, and you're on a very hard time limit, so you just have to go now.
Yeah.
Really nice way of preventing me from thinking like, well, why didn't they just do this? He should have done like some dumbbell exercises or something.
Well, also to keep the pace, like it
Yeah.
keeps moving. It keeps moving.
And totally. And then we see like her dress them in like
Yeah.
traditional garb, and she's like, why do we have to wear this? And she's like, it'll protect you, just it'll make you stronger. She's like, okay,
The
whatever.
cool shot of them on like the train on the way there.
Yeah, she's like,
this
okay,
little beat-
grandma.
Yeah.
And then before they leave, she just hugs her and she just goes like, just come back.
She's
and
like,
I was
don't
like,
die. Yeah.
the little character moments, like, oh my God. Like,
Yeah.
it's not, this is her granddaughter. Like, of course they
And they
shoot
have,
the
like,
shit,
yeah.
but come on.
They
like,
have a weird relationship, but she loves her and cares
Yeah.
about her. They get there and
she's changed. She
it's-
changed to be like, fuck you, grandma. I don't need your fucking clothes.
Well, yeah, I mean, but also it's just like they're in a little too deep. It seems.
Oh, yeah.
Because Turbo Granny ends up like leaving Ken, and he gets his dick back for a second, and he's like, "Cool, I got it back. I'm cool." And they're just out of their element. They're in too deep. Turbo Granny's way too powerful.
It's terrifying. Like they're before they walk in, they're like arguing. Okay, ladies first, and she's like,
Yeah,
"No, you
yeah,
go."
yeah.
And she's like, "But I'm scared." And
Yeah.
he's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
She's like, "Okay, fine, we'll go together." And they start walking in, and then you just see this huge. They're like, "Oh, she's not that
Head.
big." Huge granny head, and that was terrifying.
Such an interesting way to show this like horrific moment. This like huge head sliding through this tunnel. I mean, truly horrifying.
And they're both like, "Oh, she's bigger now."
way bigger.
She's
That's
bigger
her
now.
domain,
Yeah.
and you just walked into her domain.
Yeah.
And you pissed her off. You've been pissing her off.
Yeah.
So yeah.
She ends up like trapping Momo in this barrier of hands. So, Momo.
Well, yeah, she goes, "Okay, let's play tag, bitch. Let's go."
Oh,
okay,
we're
count to 10
counting.
minutes.
Yeah.
Count to 10 minutes. She goes, "Okay, fine." And they start, "Okay, 10 minutes should get us out of here and plenty of time. Like we won't have much time, but we'll at least get to a certain point." She goes like 1, 2, 5, 6, and they're like, "What the fuck? She's not counting, right?" And then that's when Momo gets
Yeah.
caught.
She says count 10 minutes. I think she says 2 10 minutes. What Momo meant was 10 minutes worth of counting.
Yeah.
And then the granny's just like 1, 2, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 6, 7, 8 minutes, 9 minutes, 10 minutes. That's how she gets there.
I was like, got to be specific when
She's
you're
like,
haggling with the spirit.
Yeah, and that
just
was
like
a little bit of
Genie,
that. That was a little bit of the he's in the shed writing too.
Yeah.
She's like, you said I had to count to 10 minutes, not how I had to count
Are
to 10
you Dr.
minutes.
Evil?
Yeah, that would have been my pinky.
You told me I had to count. But yeah, that was awesome. I love that because I love when like stories do that where it's like the genie scenario where it's like, oh, I wish to be, you know, whatever the case would be, and it's like they just twist it to.
Well, I like the twist of like, I don't have to play by your rules.
Yeah, that's what she says. She's
yeah.
like, what the fuck? I'm gonna count how I count.
Like, she's a powerful being, like toying with them. She's like, yeah, sure, I'll count to 10 or 10 minutes, and then she's like, but I also don't have to.
Yeah.
And even him's like, you said you would.
Yeah.
What you said you were gonna? She's like, okay. He's like, stop doing that weird counting thing.
Yeah. She gets Momo gets captured in this like dome of hands, and then Ken gets possessed by her fully. Because I think before, like a part of her was in him, or
it was a curse she
had
put
cursed
on him.
Yeah,
but now she's possessing him.
Yes, and now she's possessing him, which is completely different. And the traditional garb affects her and like causes her to like not be able to stay in him or to be able to like maintain control over him. And it's just enough for Momo to. Now we're seeing her be able to use her power through this barrier, through the hands, like be able to control the curse again. For some reason, our mics cut out here for a little bit, but all you missed was us talking about Ken biting Turbo Granny's titties. And I really wish there was a better way to say that, but he then just uses her speed to escape from the tunnel and into the city. All of a sudden, you see that like Turbo Granny has been able to possess all these people.
Splash panel of giant crab
spirit too. Yeah.
They're just getting chased by crabs, and their faces are classic, and they're like.
I like the as they're like running away, he has her piggybacking. And they're running, and people are just like, that's
She
cute.
goes, oh my god, I'm so embarrassed if they can't see the crab. It just looks like I'm riding on your back. It looks like I'm getting a piggyback ride. He's like, shut up.
People can't see that he's like a ghost guy. They don't see what's chasing them.
It's just
They're like, wow,
running.
they're really into piggyback.
That's why it feels like Bleach too, because that's exactly how the rules of that world work. There were ghosts and demons that they would constantly be fighting, and nobody else could see them.
So it's just a guy.
So yeah, when a hollow would like crash through a building, the civilians would be like, an explosion, and that seems to be the rules of this world too.
But yeah, that was like the other genuinely creepy thing is like you see like people just on their phones and then spirits just like enter their minds and it just immediately takes over.
That
the
page,
whole city.
that page too is just one person, 2 people, 5 people just running at them, and they're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And then they're just like so tired, and like the human response of running too long is just vomiting and like feeling like shit, and they're like, I don't know how much longer I could run, honestly, at this point. And she just has her minions, and she's like, just seems so like there's no way they're gonna get out of this.
Unbeatable.
There's no way they're gonna get out of this.
And they use that one more turbo boost to get as far out of the city limits as they could get, which is like right on the border.
And then that's when she uses her powers again as like a silly hand.
And
she goes, okay.
I really like her aura like extension.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's so funny because they're explaining like, oh, this train goes faster than she can run. So we got a good start. And she's still crab mode and trying to get them. And that was awesome.
Yeah, because she basically, it's this another cool ass moment. And we do find out that her powers are aura based, which we touched on earlier, but it's gone into more depth. That everybody has aura, and she can everything has an aura, and she can manipulate that aura. And so she actually finds out that she can manipulate that aura, or at least when she awakened, however she imagined. And that's the level she's trying to get back to. But she's there in this moment. It looks like they're about to be defeated, and she's like, I can stick to anything, right? And you just, and again, to the point of like hearing things, I can just hear this train approaching, and it's just like, fuck yeah, dude. And she just extends her hand, like sticks to the side of the train,
and that's
grabs
part
them,
of
and they zip off.
A nice callback to how he did that for her in their first fight, which is he grabbed her and then ran away, and now she's grabbing him and they're running away. So I really like how even of a partnership.
Well, because they had that moment where he really felt like he had to save her. Is she being the brave kind of fighter that she is, saved him, during the first fight, and then in the tunnel, he felt like he needed to pay her back because she said a line to him like, "It's okay, like I saved you that one time, and I'll save your ass again next time. Like it's all good."
It's
so when she's in that little like hand thing, he's hearing that word. It's like, "I'll save your ass again." He's like, "No, I'm gonna save you," kind of thing.
It's just like like confirmation that they actually are friends, and not just like, "Oh, I'm just getting you off of this because I don't want to deal with you anymore." Because she keeps saying things to be like, "Don't be so hard on yourself," and he just doesn't believe it. And like that's what friends are for, to tell you that you're not that terrible.
Have some balls.
Have some balls.
Turbo Granny took them. That's
I can't.
I like how every time he's in danger, she just remembers the things he said of like, "Oh, I never had friends. I thought you would be a friend, and that's why I couldn't back down. Is I didn't want to waste this opportunity. I finally found someone I think I could be friends with," and she has flashbacks to that. So I believe all of these things. Character having. Like it's such a natural friendship happening.
And that was a really touching moment that we kind of glossed over too. But I mean, read it for yourself because I mean we're just hitting the main beats, but there's a lot of layers to this.
It's such a dense story, and really the art. There's a couple pages where it's the whole city.
I could read this without words and be like, "This is amazing."
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Like, oh my god! And then we just get, they're on the train, and then we see Grandma already lined up, waiting for him to come back, just like a badass. Just like,
she have her like hands behind her back, and it's sort of like it's time to having.
Yeah, they're coming. They're on their way. Yeah. I knew she would do it. It's like a proud little moment of being like, okay.
And she has those same seals on the, sort of like the city limits of where the train leaves, and Turbo Granny goes through, and they're able to exercise her.
And then that's when we see just like high school girls
from the crab spirit
into the sky, and they're just smiling with tears in their eyes, and you're like, huh?
And then
I thought for a second like that was some weird trippy, like she's having flashbacks to all of her like past moments.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like all the girls that these ghosts have like captured.
Well, what happened was because we get again like our Mob Psycho episode is coming out on Saturday.
It totally reminds me of Mob Psycho because they just, after that, they don't really talk anymore, and then they just go straight back to the tunnel to pay.
Because what happens in that moment is we realize, because it was kind of hinted at earlier by the grandma, but the grandma kind of turns to Momo and tells, once she sees all those girls coming out, she tells her like, "Yeah, see, I didn't really want to go too deep into it because I was kind of unsure about the whole thing. But that tunnel, there was a lot of rumors that girls were being lured to that tunnel."
Well, not rumors. They were murdered.
They were
horrifically
being brutally murdered in that tunnel. And it was a rumor, or we thought it was like a theory, that Turbo Granny was going to these spots to keep them company. Like it ended up being like a redeeming Turbo Granny story.
That's why she takes their dicks.
And that's why she takes their dicks, because the men are like horrible.
Which is why it's thematically relevant that what is the first thing Ken do when he gets possessed by the Turbo Granny? He attacks alien rapists. So it is just like that silly moment. Not silly at all, turns out.
It's the, girls like you. And she just has tears in her eyes because it's like, I just defeated this, person that was giving these ghosts comfort in their lives, but she messed with me, so I had to do something. And it's like a give or take, and it's like respecting the spirits like Mob does in Mob Psycho, where he's like, let's hear them out really quick and not just completely exorcise them at first, because they were people, or it's so crazy. That scene, I was like, oh my god,
it's really hitting me, Megan, that that is why it makes the taking the dick thing just mean more, because like
imagine if it was able to do that before.
I know it would have been able to prevent these men from doing these terrible things. I mean,
at least they're released.
They're released, they're set free, and it was a really beautiful moment.
It was like they were like trapped in that malevolent energy caused by their like tragic deaths.
Yeah.
So it's like the positive is they are freed from all that, and they can like move on now. But it was like,
yeah, dude, it was wow.
So,
that hit me again right now. Yeah, as we were talking about it, but
a great sign of like, oh, is that just like a silly little joke that it like, oh, it like goes for the dick every time it fights? No, not silly at all. It turns out.
It means it. Yeah. That's what it's doing.
Wow. But yeah, they go and they pay their respects and everything. But
it's like it wasn't evil. It was just very aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, it was probably this like malevolent energy, this overprotecting sort of motherish figure, and now
because it is like the question. That's the other thing is like if she went in the tunnel, would Turbo Granny have appeared and attacked her? Would he have been attacked?
Great freaking point.
Would he have been attacked by aliens because they were after women? So it is like
It's a freaking story, dude.
this is a really well written thing, which is why it's like it feels so full because so many things come
Blown
to
away.
a conclusion.
My fucking dick's blown off.
We'll use that phrase now instead of blow.
Dude, my dick's blown off.
That just blew my dick off.
Wow.
And we get just the ribbon on the top. Just my favorite. Just the ending of this volume or chapter volume.
I'm pretty sure.
Pretty sure
It feels like a
volume.
complete story.
Yeah,
at the
they
time.
have like a crab dinner. At
Yeah,
the end,
and it's
sort of
so
like,
playful and so fun. And she's eating the crab, and he's like, "Help me out! Your grandma wants to see my dick."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Cause you look kind of down," and she goes, "That's just her way of trying to cheer you up."
yeah,
And it's
he's
just
like
so
he's
funny.
not eating. You can tell he's not feeling like.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's like, how can you eat crab right now?
Yeah, she's like,
Yeah, and she's loving. Yeah, Momo's obsessed with crab, and that's another instance where the grandma is just like fucking with everybody,
Mhm.
and even Momo has to tell him like she's doing that to get a rise. She's doing that to cheer you up. Like she's
Yeah.
messing with
It's
you.
better to be angry and passionate than sad and
Yeah.
quiet.
Yeah, and it's just you really see their dynamic complete at this point. Like you see them as a family together, as a unit together. But what's crazy is that, and what's kind of like to your point about losing a design. Turbo Granny's not in
No more.
Ken anymore.
Which is why I'm like, where's this story going? Are you telling me you did all that amazing design, that solid power system where it's like, okay, a couple volumes down the road, you can do 3 bursts, like
Yeah.
it's gone? I don't believe, but the curse is lifted. So what's going to happen with this?
I don't
Because she doesn't
know.
lose her powers.
She doesn't lose her powers.
maybe he's more susceptible now to intake
I was thinking
spirits
about- yeah.
and stuff
I was thinking
and
about that.
possessions.
What if he, like, every, like, arc or, like, mini arc, like, is just possessed by a new sort of evil
if
spirit?
they're gonna do that's I heard that theory,
Really?
right? That like he's going to be like possessed by a new spirit every time. But like if he's gonna just do a design like that and just like, all right, next volume I'm done with it, like that's gonna be such a power move on the whole world to do designs like that and be like, I'm done with it. You don't get any more. We're
Hey,
moving
that's
on.
some Fujimoto shit right there.
I mean, dude, it's...
Yeah.
That's some Fujimoto shit right there.
I'm hoping like that's a recurring theme of his if he gets possessed, it looks like that. Because
Yeah, maybe he can control them more and more as time goes on. Like, maybe they'll be of varying strengths.
Yeah.
This is, like, super cheesy, what I'm about to say. But imagine a way cooler, like, sort of Ben 10 situation where he just has all of these,
I
like...
wanted to be against you. The set you said Ben 10. I'm like, what? No, you're absolutely right.
where
If he
just
like
has these
stores
different
them,
forms, yeah.
Whoa.
because that's the
Yeah.
limit, right? It's like, oh, this one can move in quick bursts.
That's what I'm saying, dude!
So like, oh, he's gonna get possessed by a ghost. I can like, oh, maybe it's like super strong but slow. This one can take a lot of damage. I really like that. That's the only direction I can see it going outside of them just being like,
I have no
here's I've
idea.
restored the curse and it's a controlled form.
See, I, honestly, that's what I'm as much as I love the design and I don't want to see this character go away, that's what I'm a little worried about. Because they spent so much time crafting this really beautiful story and brought it to a really definitive end. And so for them at the end, last minute, to say, like, I found a way, like, Turbo Granny's energy is still in this, like, dildo. And I'm just, you know what I mean?
Or whatever.
Or whatever. It could have been anything.
I totally just I have all faith. I have all faith in what is going to come and what's going to come next. I have no expectations. I'm sure whatever they bring out is going to be fantastic, and I am ready for it fully.
Yeah, me too.
This story did enough for me to trust it.
Yeah.
Like all those
Oh, yeah.
circles, I didn't notice the one you pointed out right at the end with the girls. That circle was like really nice. So it's like it's earned my trust. I don't know. And
Yeah.
this
But
is
it's
the exact,
enticing. It keeps
the
you
exact
reading.
feeling of Chainsaw Man, which is like
Yeah.
I believe that there's no way it's gonna go like and then that was
way.
garbage.
No.
Right now, what I am experiencing is like an intense amount of just like the only word I can think is just like, God damn it. Like,
God
I just
damn
feel like,
the damn.
I feel like my energy
Yes.
is
God
damn the damn.
Yeah.
Like, this manga has just like sucked me dry. But like in a good way. Like it's taking,
Well, yeah. There's not many.
There's not many bad ways. But no, I mean, like it's just like it's brought so many things. It's brought so much excitement.
Totally.
It's brought so much just like fun.
And
what really wraps it up.
Oh, what really wraps it
And this
up
is the
with
part,
the characters.
I hear the music. I hear the wind blowing.
Oh my God. She goes, okay, they're wrapped up. He's done with the curse. Everything's fine. We don't have to talk anymore because we're not in the same worlds.
And they're like,
and she's like, goodbye. Okay, goodbye. See you tomorrow. And he just like turns around and he's just like,
that shot of him, like,
see you tomorrow?
Yeah.
He's never been
because they were both in their heads going like, goodbye. This is goodbye. And she like makes a point. I'm not going to say goodbye. See you tomorrow. And I like cuts back to the next day and he's walking and he's just like, if you've rehearsed it in your head, people do this all the time. And I'm like, we've all been there. And then he sees her just like doing like twisting her hair and he's like
waiting by the gate.
And he's like,
gate,
she's not waiting for me. She's waiting for someone else. Why would she wait for me?
Yeah.
And he still has doubts, even though after everything that they've been through, that she's just gonna be like, no, bye.
Well, of course.
And it has only been like one night.
And I love that dynamic. Like you have people that like aren't gonna make the first move, like being a friend or like that type of relationship.
Yeah.
So people that are like Momo, she's confident, she's
assertive,
assertive, she's gonna be like, I'm gonna do it so you don't have to like put yourself through
that moment when he's walking and she goes, you're late.
Yeah. Perfect.
That's why it's like, that's how this story arc ends on that note. That's the perfect like ending point for it. If that feels like the complete story right there.
Yeah,
God
man.
damn.
I don't know where this story can go.
We can't rave about it enough.
I have so much, like you guys both said, complete and utter faith in the mangaka to just deliver.
Oh my gosh.
I almost don't know. Like, I almost don't know if I can wait for multiple chapters to come out. If it has to be a thing where I'm reading it, as soon as the new chapter comes out.
What happened? Because I want to know how he stays relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to know what happens to that design.
I mean, we've only been introduced to fucking 3 characters. I'm so excited to see who comes next.
At a point in a story where you're lucky, usually after volume you'll get like 1 or 2 like characters like as
all
this
dynamic.
well established too.
Oh my God, I can't wait to see who's next.
I can't either.
Because they're gonna meet others.
Yeah.
There's gonna be other powers. There's gotta be more dynamics and systems. I couldn't guess at all where it goes. I like your theory the most so far.
I hope. Just freaking read Dandadan. Read it. It's so unique. It's so cool. It's so just it's everything, man. I mean, I haven't read a series that's made me feel this way since Chainsaw Man. Obviously, Berserk is another series that I was just like, but with Berserk, it was like, why did it take me this long to read this? But with this, it's like, this is, I can't believe I found this early.
Every chapter in my notes, I literally wrote, this manga is amazing. Like
It's
every
so
chapter,
amazing.
no, it's not just like, oh, this is good. Like every time I finished a chapter, I was like, holy shit.
Same.
Yeah, that highlighted line that I agree with that feeling.
It makes me feel nostalgic and like I'm watching an anime.
Yeah, for real.
Like I'm watching something. I'm not just reading it. It's even the part where they're running down the hallway and when the grandma's chasing him and they're running around the hallway and just their movements, like I could totally see that.
Yeah.
I mean, I see it obviously because I'm reading it, but I could just, it's amazing. I've never read a manga that had so much fluidity in the motion that it's just like making me believe that I'm watching something visual. Yeah. Like it's absolutely insane.
Obviously,
blew
this
my
is a
dick
series
off.
that blew all of our dicks off.
Blew our dicks off.
Yeah, and
Okay.
yeah, and I'll say it again, and this comes from all of us here at Volume 1.
Oh.
Read Dandadan.
Oh, yeah.
Read it.
I would read it before you watch this because it is still new.
Well, if they've already got this far, then it's too late.
Yeah, no, it's too late for y'all now.
Yeah. I would say that we still didn't really spoil anything because
this might show up on camera.
You need to experience this series.
Megan drew a splash page. I think that might be some of her best artwork.
I had so much creativity and I was like, this is how I feel.
That's what I'm saying. Like it brought a lot of stuff out of me. I think you can.
One day we'll figure out what Dandadan means.
One day. I think even though we talked a lot about the beats of this story, I think there's so much for you to discover on your own. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
there's still so many layers. Like Cody said, it's such a dense story that I don't think we really spoiled anything. Obviously, if you've read it already, you can enjoy the conversation with us. But now, having heard this conversation, if you haven't, you can go back and just have all of this in the back of your mind while you read it for the first time. And I think either way, it's just a great series that you can reread over and over again. And it's something that, like I said, is a new favorite art style of mine. And it's something I am so excited to continue reading.
I love the way the guy's body works when he's like using his ghost powers. It's such a the way he like when he's on the ground, he does like twisting, like rotating on the ground and like jumps up again. It's
He uses his legs as helicopters. I mean, come on.
Oh,
yeah. We almost
We forgot about that little nugget.
That's what I mean. There's so many things in this that we, didn't even have time to cover it all.
Details, just story moments, like character moments, character feelings. Like, just read it. Just you could have a totally different experience yourself. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, and you might find things that we didn't find, and if you have read it, let us know what some things that we might have missed are.
Favorite moments.
Yeah, some of your favorite moments were.
Where you think the story's going.
This is
Predictions,
something
yeah.
that unless the writer was like, that was all I had, this is going to be very popular.
Yeah.
So this is something, when you see the first volume, buy it, because much like Chainsaw Man, there's no way this will like stay in stock.
Cody's been scarred by that for sure.
I've been scarred.
Yeah, we've all been
I
scarred.
have 2, 3, 4, 5. Think I have
same.
1?
Yeah, they get mad at you if you ask.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So I'll say it one more time before we end this segment of the podcast. Read Dandadan. And I think that might be our outro. That's always the same. It never changes.
I like blow my dick off.
Okay. But we're not done yet. That is going to conclude our Dandadan, what we think is Volume 1 discussion. Like we said, let us know predictions, favorite moments. If you read it based on our episode or this episode, let us know what you thought about it and let us know what you think. Anyway, now it's time, before we get out of here, to get to another segment on our show, the Water Circle, where we ask Volume 1 Chan to go through some comments that you've left on our previous videos. She reads them, we discuss them, and that's pretty much how that works. If you want us to read one of your comments in a future Water Circle, then just comment down below on this video or any of our other videos. Other than that, I guess, Volume 1 Chan, why don't you kick us off with the first comment?
This one comes from Yuri Morta, from Volume 1's Chapter 1 review of Dandadan. The fan service bit annoys me, and it keeps happening constantly. Consistently. I really hope that going forward, the series deviates from these tropes. It's really unnecessary. Apart from that, lots of potential.
Oh my God, the potential's endless.
Potential's endless.
Potential's endless.
Yeah. And Megan helped me realize too, especially that like that fan service bit not irrelevant to what's happening in the story.
Very
or its
important.
themes.
No, yeah, and honestly, it doesn't happen too much again. I mean, we see Booby Grandma.
But is that fan service?
It's not. That's what I'm saying. I mean,
Depends on what you're into.
Yeah. But honestly, I mean, it doesn't happen too much, which I was kind of like, okay, here we go. It's going to be another Mirako-chan type situation. But I mean, even if what do you expect? It's a fucking anime. You're gonna probably get that any source material that you read. Chainsaw Man, like, come on, like there's parts where I'm like, okay, this is just for that, but it doesn't bug me too much because the story's just giving so many more elements that I don't care.
It's toned down a lot after the first chapter, but again, it's also super important for the overall story.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have known. I mean, there's no way to know that until you read the complete, and you're like, oh, yes. Looking back, yes.
It is like it's a spoiler to tell you that that's not just there to be there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But you have to realize it for yourself.
Yeah, you have to get there yourself.
Open your third eye.
Yeah.
Third eye blind is what you are. If you can't see why Dandadan is a great series.
I was out,
I
and
know,
then you got me back in.
I was like, oh boy, you better pull through.
Oh boy, you better pull
Well, you did
through.
it. You did it. You pulled it out of your asshole, Cody.
Oh my God, stop! Say that!
Don't say hole.
Volume 1 Chan, read another comment for us, please.
This one comes from Damian Patterson. It's kind of a longer comment, so if you want to see the original comment, go to Volume 1's Berserk Golden Age Arc episode.
Great
And
episode.
spoiler alert, Cody gets ripped into for his thoughts on Hunter x Hunter.
This is,
Let me just start with a little bit of just a real quick backstory. First of all, this gentleman commented left a comment on our Berserk Golden Age episode, like Volume 1 Chan said, and from his profile picture, it looked like and I'm sure is a very, very sweet man. And he's kind of on my and Megan's side, so I love him even more for that.
Yeah.
But he ripped into Cody.
And I feel bad because you can tell, like, one, if you respond directly to something, like a comment, it means you watched the whole video, which means he enjoyed it up until this point.
Maybe he just didn't.
He left a comment at the beginning of the video being
I think you're on
like,
the nose there.
being like, yeah, this is great. You guys should check this out. And then he left a very passionate thing about Hunter x Hunter. And I didn't know how to respond without sounding like a dick because I don't want to like this to be an unfair attack, but it is such a long comment that it's going to take up a...
And also, too, I really do think, too, I mean, all jokes aside, he really does seem like a really nice person. And I think what's happening is he just has so much love and passion for Hunter x Hunter,
it.
which I do too. I felt it just reading the comment. So again, even though it's a long comment, I don't think it's like an attack, like a fuck you. This is why.
No.
It's just pointing
like,
out.
You don't see why I appreciate this, and I respect that. So I just wrote down highlights that he had because it is a very long speech to just give him his fair like shot, and then I won't even say a counter thing.
Okay.
I've decided. Here's his counterpoint to the things I made. The fights were about winning with intelligence, not overwhelming force in Hunter x Hunter. The example he chose is a spoiler for Hunter x Hunter fight scenes, maybe. I don't know. If you know who Ubo is. If you don't, maybe. Ubo's battle was about using a cliche ability like super strength to win a fight when you're at a disadvantage, being like on the surface level, like outpowered and outgunned. Because if you like, they have more people and their powers are more fantastical than his, and it's about his final point that I think it's about winning, outmanned, and outgunned. So that's what he said. I don't know how to respond without sounding like a dick. So if you guys want to say something about it, but I made my point in Berserk.
I want to say thank you too. That was a beautiful speech. I felt your passion, and I really agreed with all the points you made.
And I know that Cody is respectfully disagreeing still.
I made
it is
my
all
points
out of respect.
in Berserk. I'm giving this point the final counterpoint, and then I hopefully.
I do think that it's because it's such a beloved series that people like him and people like me and Megan just desperately, because it means so much to us, just want someone we care about, someone who, we talk to often, to like it too. And I think, this is someone who just, like us, loves it and just wants you to get it. I do respect your opinion, and I know you respect his.
Yeah.
The nicest way I'll say this is I didn't see anything that convinced me to see things from your perspective on the way these fights are handled. But he left a very well-detailed explanation for why he thinks, and why I think you guys think the fights are very well handled, and what there is to enjoy about them.
Yeah, it was very eloquent.
Yes.
I was reading it.
Very well put, yeah.
Being put back into that Hunter x Hunter mode, because I haven't watched it in a long time, and just him just explaining again why you should like this series and like why the fights are good. It just brought me back, and I had like flashbacks of just feeling that way, like completely, entirely. And
2 out of 3 ain't bad.
2 out of 3 is the majority.
But you don't want to leave 2 out of 3. Leave us 5 stars on our iTunes and Spotify.
So go check that comment out if you want to see the full context. But Volume 1 Chun, can you read us one more comment before we get out of here?
This one comes from Siddharth Dinesh. Having read some Shojin X and Tokyo Ghoul and seeing how popular the Tokyo Ghoul manga is, do you think Shojin X can become as popular, if not more popular, than Tokyo Ghoul? Also, love your content, and y'all are awesome.
Real quick, Siddharth Dinesh, I think I said that right.
Siddharth Dinesh.
I hope so. Is one of our Patreon members, so we got to shout him out and give him an extra shout out. Thank you so much for your support and all of our other support that we get from other Patreon members. What do you guys think about this? Because we just read Tokyo Ghoul. You've obviously seen more Tokyo Ghoul. What do you think? I have my thoughts.
The thing is, will this be bigger than Tokyo Ghoul?
Bigger or as big? I think my educated guess is that it will be as big for sure. I can't say bigger, but I will say as big. I want it to be bigger because logically I'm thinking especially after reading Ishida's Afterward, like we mentioned in the episode, he is aware of like what a toll that manga took on him. He learned a lot and he grew a lot. He knows what works. He knows now what it's like to get, his work adapted. He knows things that get lost. He's just so much more educated.
And reading that too, you felt that
Absolutely.
in his writing. You're like, this is, we said this is a person who knows what he's doing with the manga and how characters are built and how a world is built. So I have no fears that it's not going to do just as good as Tokyo Ghoul. I mean, Tokyo Ghoul was like, I mean, it's a phenomenon. I mean, it's huge in the manga community, anime community. I mean, it's just a behemoth of that genre. So, I mean, I don't know. It's very similar, but
it's hard to strike lightning twice. You look at other series, like let's just look at Fujimoto, for example, Fire Punch to Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man obviously has become way more popular than I think Fire Punch. But then you look at Soul Eater versus Fire Force, right? And Fire Force was extremely popular, but I think that Soul Eater is still like more of a classic.
It's a staple. Just like Tokyo Ghoul is going to be a staple forever. Yeah.
And so I think we might have a Soul Eater Fire Force situation on our hands where it will become equally as popular. But everybody will still, I think Tokyo Ghoul will always hold just like a more of a special place in everybody's heart because it is his original work.
Yeah, this doesn't seem like the kind of writer who wouldn't learn lessons from doing the first one. It's like the criticisms I've heard for Tokyo Ghoul is like the main character isn't that likable in the beginning, which I disagree with, but maybe just because I relate to him. But I mean,
I relate to him too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. We all are. I don't know what that noise is. But like reading Trojan X, like the main character doesn't seem like that's going to be an issue with him.
Yeah.
So I can already like this, like this looks like the kind of writer who like learns all that stuff and is carrying it over into his next project. So the only issue is like if the audience is still going to be there for it.
And I think
I'm sure.
I think they will.
Yeah.
I think they will. And yeah, he has to be self-aware to have wrote that afterward. And
it's not like it's bad.
Oh, no. And it's already starting. It's off to such a great start.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be great. And for sure, at least equally as popular as Tokyo Ghoul. But that's going to do it for the Wonder Circle. And that's going to do it for the episode as well. Thank you, as always, for watching and listening. Before we go, we do have to shout out, speaking of our Patreon members, all of our Patreon members. Thank you so much. We've gotten a lot of new Patreon members recently. And I just want to say from all of us, thank you so much for all your support. It's because of you guys that we get to do cool stuff. And, hopefully we're able to do more like cosplay stuff for videos. And yeah, thank you so much for however you show your support. If you're part of the algorithm gang, we love you and appreciate you too. And if you're looking for ways that don't involve financial support to show your support, then you can do that by either just subscribing to the channel if you're not already, or heading on over to iTunes or wherever you listen to the audio version of this. Rate the podcast, leave us a review because it helps.
Yes.
Yeah, it helps us out a lot.
That would be amazing, you guys. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, so
fantastical.
However you can support us, and we do appreciate it, even if you're just hanging back and watching and listening.
Oh, yeah.
But if you're looking for other ways to show your support, then those are some other ways that you can do it. Also, real quick, too, I just want to shout out Goni.ig. Goni.ig gave us these really cool shirts. This is a Jujutsu Kaisen shirt.
Look at that.
He makes all kinds of really cool shirts. He makes Berserk shirts. He makes Chainsaw Man shirts.
Pants, sweaters. I mean, this guy is awesome, and he sent us these awesome shirts. So thank you so much for that, all the way from, I believe, the UK. And we got this cute little card just saying, thanks for doing what you do. And he's just so
super
nice.
Nice guy, streetwear aesthetic, very cool. Sometimes I think with anime, shirts and clothes, they can look a little corny, but not these bad boys.
Not these bad boys. Oh, for our audio listeners, me and Josh are wearing our exclusive Volume 1 merch. And it's awesome.
And I'm going to be rocking that shirt in a future episode too, but I just had to rep the podcast in this one.
We just got those and we have to, rinse them off.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah.
You have to do
Yeah,
that.
we'll probably post probably on our Instagram.
Which you should also follow us on.
Which you
too.
should also follow us on too. We'll probably post a
Absolutely.
picture of us in them and just shouting them out because thank you again. Awesome. Like
And check him out.
fucking
And if you do
awesome.
check him out and get anything, let him know that Volume 1 sent ya.
Tell them the gang sent you.
Tell him the gang. He'll know what you mean.
Yeah, he'll know what you mean.
He'll know what you mean.
Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. All that's left now to do is get out of here on our outro that is always the same and never changes, which we got 2 contenders for today. Which one's it going to be?
This series blew my dick off.
Don't be crabby. Read Dandadan.
This series blew my dick off. I like that.
Okay. I was just trying to.
I liked it, though.
Really?
Just not as much as the other
Okay,
one.
that's fine.
Yeah.
What is it? The series blew my dick off.
I think it looks like she freaking hates it.
Yeah.
What did you say? The series blew my
What
dick
was that
off?
dumb
Oh,
thing you said?
Yeah, I don't know.
Josh, you're on my side.
Yeah, I know.
I know, Josh. Wishy.
That's true.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And until next time.
This series blew my dick off, and not like in the weird way that you think. Not in the hot way, not in the cool way.